Part 78. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 771. This time the mission is on this planet. I will release the details of the mission later, and you can consider whether to accept it or not. Prepare yourselves. After a few words of explanation, Lin Yi stood in front of the door of Wanchaiwu. The power of any door is activated, the door opens, and a world like ruins appears on the opposite side. Ximen silently watched the scene with a hint of shock in his eyes. He followed Lin Yi and stepped outside the gate. What he saw was Wanjin City shrouded in countless black dust. Continuous black dust floated in every corner of Wanjin City. At this time, countless buildings in Wanjin City were covered with black fleshy structures that looked like living organisms. The entire Wanjin City became like a foreign land, full of weirdness and terror. There was a trace of solemnity in Ximen Wuxian's eyes. The moment he appeared, he felt a trace of instinctive alarm everywhere in his body. His body came alive in an instant, and every cell was vibrating slightly. A magnetic field enveloped him, and no black dust could get close to it. His magnetic field is filled with a powerful spiritual force. After combining with the magnetic field, it seems to form a space-time fault, easily cutting off everything from the outside world. Lin Yi glanced at him calmly. He could feel the extremely complicated traces deep in the other person's heart. That is the time principle that Ximen's silent mind believes in, and it becomes a reality under the influence of spiritual power. Lin Yi's eyes were flashing with the true meaning of destiny, and the black substances in the air were clearly visible in his eyes. That was clearly a strange power, but in this world, the strange power seemed to be greatly suppressed. It becomes a kind of communication in a material form. He took a deep breath, and there was a look in his eyes. Thoughts about nothing. They are really weird existences. Did they follow me into this world? If so, we're in big trouble. No matter which world I go to in the future, they will follow me unless I die. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll never be able to get rid of this kind of thing. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but think of what the giant tree soul Ayala told him. As long as you know the existence of weirdness, you will be noticed by weirdness. Taking a deep breath, now, the weirdness hasn't spread yet, we have to find a way to nip it in the bud. Step 1. Clean up all mutated corpses in the city. At the same time, these mutated entities should be utilized to the greatest extent possible. I need them to increase the reserve of weird power in Wanchaiwu so that if something goes wrong, I can leave this world immediately. With a decision made in his heart, Lin Yi's eyes showed a hint of cold murderous intention. He turned to look at Ximen Wuxian. I can already determine the origin of these things. Just inform your people to seal off the outside and don't let these things escape. Everything else is taken care of by me. When Ximen Wuxian heard this, his heart suddenly shook. There was a hint of disbelief in his eyes. He wants to deal with the mutated corpses in the entire Wanjin City alone. If that's true, he's terrifying. If I were alone, it would probably take me a year to do it. Ximen Wuxian said nothing, just nodded. Okay, I understand. I will explain it immediately. The two quickly returned to the Wanchengguo, and Ximen Wuxian couldn't wait to leave to convey orders to the people on the front line. At this time, Lin Yi looked at everyone in the Wanchi room and said calmly. Everyone, we have a problem now. Strange phenomena have followed us into this world, and the entire Wanjin City has become a nest of strange phenomena. What? Brandy's expression suddenly changed, and the disaster caused by the strange phenomenon was still vivid in his mind. Old Wei's expression was also changing. No way, how did they follow? Sakuramiya surely looked solemn. The strange phenomenon was the culprit that destroyed the entire Red Lotus world. They finally escaped from the Red Lotus realm, and now the other party is chasing them. This is like a dogskin plaster. Don't panic, we still have a chance now. According to my current observations, in this world, the power of weirdness is also greatly suppressed. It can only exist in this world in a physical form, so the speed of infection is very slow. I plan to connect any door of Wanchaiwu house to Wanjin city. Then, introduce all the strange mutated corpses into the underground maze. Then we annihilate them all there and turn them into a reserve energy source for the house of all things. When the energy reserve of all things is sufficient, we can activate the all things house at any time and go to other unknown worlds. The emergence of strange phenomena is not necessarily completely bad news for us. After hearing Lin Yi's words, everyone felt slightly relieved. At the same time, a glimmer of hope arose. They also know that because of the limited reserve of strange power, the Wanchaiwu cannot be activated again and travel to other worlds. If this batch of low-level weird existences can be digested, then the House of All Things will store a large amount of weird power. It will be a huge help for their next departure. Everyone was eager to try, and at the same time, a fire was burning in their hearts. That was the anger towards the strange phenomena, because of their existence. They had to leave their hometown, escape from the Red Lotus realm, and become wanderers in one world after another. This mission is a public mission, and everyone will get 500 contribution points. Hearing Lin Yi's words, everyone was very happy, and then they all began to prepare. A large number of traps began to appear in the underground maze. The function of these traps was not to kill these strange beings, but to hinder their speed of action. At the same time, a large number of spiritual jades appeared in the room in the center of the maze. These spiritual jades were stored several times when connecting to other worlds. The purpose is to deal with emergencies when Lin Yi and his team have to use the power of the body. For Lin Yi and his team, the power of the body is their real combat power. Especially when it comes to eliminating strange beings, the power of the body is indispensable. Although the power of the spiritual jade is stored a lot, it cannot support the elimination of millions of mutant corpses. In order to deal with the energy problem, Lin Yi also made adjustments to the entire Wanchaiwu. First, he moved the wish shrine to the underground maze and connected it to a gate in the center of the maze. And the arbitrary door also appeared at the entrance of the maze. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 772. The war was scheduled to start after 12 o'clock tonight. Lin Yi had to connect to an unknown world with extraordinary power through the Wish Shrine. Then he signed a contract with one of them, and then used the Spirit Jade to absorb the power of that world. At the same time, he opened the Anywhere Gate and connected to the center of Wanjin City. He used the breath of flesh and blood to attract a large number of mutant corpses into the Anywhere Gate. Then they used the power of their bodies and the space of the maze to kill these mutant corpses. Finally, the Wanchaiwu would absorb the strange power of these mutant corpses to maintain the consumption of the Anywhere Gate and the Wish Shrine. This would be a long war, and it would take at least several days or even more than 10 days to eliminate millions of mutant corpses. After all the preparations were made, the time soon came to 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. Accompanied by the sound of the classical bell in the Wanchaiwu. Gugu. The Wish Shrine slowly started, and a door in the center of the maze lit up. The door slowly opened, and opposite was a panicked teenager. He was panting, his clothes were tattered, and there were traces of blood and serious wounds. He looked like he had been tortured. At this time, Absinthe looked at him with a smile. "Welcome to the Wanchaiwu. Here, as long as you pay the price, you can realize all your wishes." At this time, the man stumbled and fell to the ground and broke into the Wanchaiwu. The room in the center of the maze was very empty, with only piles of spiritual jade, neatly arranged into a huge cube. The cube occupied 70% of the space in this room. At this time, Brandy had walked up and helped the man who fell to the ground. A stream of green essence was injected into his body, instantly waking him up from the state of almost fainting. He looked confused and looked at Brandy. Am I saved?" Brandy looked at him with a smile on his face. it depends on your choice. Woo woo woo. The man suddenly burst into tears, and snot all over his face. Brandy's smile stopped awkwardly, because the snot splattered all over his clothes. He retracted his hand instantly, and the injured man lay on the ground again. At this time, Brandy squatted on the ground and looked at him. Hello, we are the Wanchaiwo here, we can fulfill your wish. But you have to pay a price, the price includes your life, soul, or some talent, or some precious treasures. Hearing this, the man's eyes showed a trace of disbelief, a trace of fear, and a trace of inexplicable expectation. So what wish do you hope to realize? Brandy looked at the man in front of him with a smile on his face. Lin Yi stood aside and did not speak. He hoped that all these people in the Wanchaiwo could grow up. So gradually, he was handing over all kinds of things to them to deal with, and he was only responsible for handling large-scale business. The Wanchaiwo has gradually begun to form its own system and enter normal operation. The man took a deep breath and struggled to sit up from the ground. I want to recover my health. I want gold, lots and lots of gold. Brandy smiled, it's easy. You need to spend about 5 years of your life to repair the damage you have now. Secondly, for gold, 1 year of life can be exchanged for 10 kilograms of gold. Hearing Brandy's words, the man's eyes suddenly burst into intense greed. I want 100 kilograms of gold. I am willing to pay 15 years of life. The man was very excited, his face was full of greed and excitement. It seemed that he saw his future life of squandering money. At this time, a note appeared in Brandy's hand, and the contents of the contract were already written on it. This is the contract, please sign your name. I can officially fulfill your wish. The man looked at the contents of the contract with a smile on his face. He didn't recognize the words on it, but he could understand the meaning. Then he wrote his name without any hesitation. At the moment he wrote his name, Brandy gently reached out and patted him on the head. Then he fainted directly, and a powerful spirit was injected into his body. His body was completely healed within a few minutes, and there was no more damage. At this time, Brandy turned to look at Lin Yi. Manager, the preparations are complete. Lin Yi nodded, then let's get started, open the arbitrary door and bring in the mutant corpse. All maze guards are activated and ready to kill the mutant corpse. At the gate of the underground maze, a maze guard stood here and slowly opened the gate. In the center of Wanjin City, there are a large number of mutant corpses wandering here. Sometimes they collide with each other, sometimes they fight, but more often they wander around peacefully. They all have no wisdom, only the instinct to fight and devour flesh and blood. At this time, a door appeared in the square in the center of Wanjin City. The fragrance of flesh and blood wafted out of the door, and immediately this little bit of bloody smell detonated the entire Wanjin City. Roar, roar, roar. Ha, tisk tisk tisk. The shouts kept coming. It was very scary at 12 o'clock in the night, and it also alarmed the H-Country team guarding outside. Countless people were very nervous, and the night was the most dangerous time. Almost all casualties occurred at this time, and countless heavy firepower weapons on the steel walls were aimed at the bottom. Any mutant corpse that tried to approach would be beaten into a sieve and then burned to ashes in a burst of flames. The chaotic roars in the city at this time alarmed Wang Jinai, and his magnetic field permeated the entire Wanjin city, vigilantly monitoring all the abnormalities inside. No corpse could escape his surveillance and escape. At this time, Wang Jinai closed his eyes slightly, and his mind was connected to the huge magnetic field of the outside world. The martial arts masters at the level of god generals, their own magnetic fields are actually only tens or hundreds of meters. But if they stay in one place, they can continuously guide the dead energy from the outside world into the magnetic field for circulation. Then through the circulation of dead energy, the range of the magnetic field can be expanded. This range can be expanded to more than 100 times, and it is possible to eventually cover the entire city. Moreover, this magnetic field is not without any attack power. The dead energy within the magnetic field range will be controlled by the God General level strongman. Under the will of the warrior, it will be transformed into various attack capabilities. And through the magnetic field, it is very easy to monitor the life within the magnetic field range. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 773. The latest chapter of the Wanchaiwu I Created is updated the fastest. Hello everyone, our official account will find gold and point coin red envelopes every day. As long as you follow us, you can receive them. The last welfare at the end of the year, please seize the opportunity. Official account book Friends Base Camp. At this time, he saw a shocking scene through magnetic induction. Thousands of mutant corpses are rushing towards the city center. There is a door in the air. The door has been opened, and inside is a place with a faint dark green glow. Filled with a wife that makes him feel scared. As for what it is, his magnetic field cannot extend into it, so he can't see it. At this time, the mutant corpses of the entire Wanjin city were attracted, and they let out crazy howls. There seemed to be incomparable joy in the howling. The entrance to the maze is now full of maze guards. They are all various strange existences, illusory, tangible, strong, agile, and master various abilities. They have cold eyes and no emotions, just like steel puppets. Behind them were the people from the Wanchaiwu, led by Lin Yi, who were in the rear. Li Hualian was the most nervous of all, because this was his first battle with a non-human being, and there was excitement in his nervousness. The whole passage was filled with a tense atmosphere. His eyes had already seen the outside of the gate, where there were countless mutant corpses rushing towards the maze. The aura emanating from those mutant corpses, although not worth mentioning to him, was already comparable to the existence of the first stage of martial arts perfection. And there were tens of thousands of them, if he appeared on the opposite side. I am afraid that at the end of the battle, he would be overwhelmed by these countless border corpses, and it is not impossible to become one of them in the end. Time passed in a blink of an eye, and 10 seconds passed. The first mutant corpse stepped into the passage, and what greeted him were dark green silk threads. That was something that spread out from the underground maze, and was specially used to contain these monsters. As long as they stepped into the maze, their hands and feet would be tied by these silk threads. Once their movements were affected, they would be immediately pounced on by the maze guards, tearing these strange corpses into pieces. Moreover, once these mutant corpses are killed, they will be immediately pulled into the walls of the maze by the maze threads and absorbed and decomposed. Outside the maze gate, more and more mutant corpses are trembling like ants, and there is no end in sight. They rushed into the maze fiercely, but there is only one way waiting for them, that is death. The maze guards are very powerful, and the lowest is the combat power of the human immortal level, and there are even more than a dozen strange beings at the ghost immortal level. The weak ones have been eliminated by Lin Yi in the past, and in the future, the maze will only retain the strong ones as maze puppets. The maze passage at the entrance is about 30 meters long, and the maze guards are blocked 5 meters away from the gate. There are only a dozen strange corpses that can rush in. And the first thing they have to face is the maze silk thread, and rushing in will be a mess. Then, they will be killed directly and turned into nutrients, without any chance at all. Then their bodies will be pulled into the wall, and then a new wave of mutant corpses will enter the maze again. A large amount of strange power was integrated into the Wanchaiwu, increasing the strange power storage of the Wanchaiwu, while maintaining the consumption of the arbitrary door and the wish shrine. From the mutant corpses rushing into their being killed, decomposed, and absorbed, the whole process generally does not exceed 5 seconds, and at least 150 mutant corpses will be killed in 1 minute. At least 9,000 can be killed in an hour. Lin Yi calculated it in his mind and frowned slightly. The efficiency is a bit low. Let the maze guards retreat and make half of the maze space. Then let these mutant corpses rush in more at a time, and then carry out large-scale killings. Today is the first night of the battle, we only have 7 hours. At this time, the entire battlefield is commanded by Brandy, as Lin Yi's most trusted person. Lin Yi is letting him gradually familiarize himself with and control all the strange items in the Xuanhuan. In this way, he will truly become the steward of all things and his right-hand man. In the future, he will not need to do everything himself. Brandy nodded, yes, manager. Compared to the beginning, Brandy has changed a lot. He has gradually adapted to these hideous and strange existences. The most important thing is the power he has. These things can no longer harm him. The next moment, Lin Yi and others all disappeared in this area in a twist. When they appeared again, they had arrived at the center of the maze. And Brandy stood in front of a model in the center of the maze, which was the core of the maze. At this time, his mind had been connected with the entire Xuanhuan with Lin Yi's permission. At the same time, the maze guards disappeared into the wall one by one. As the guards of the maze, they naturally have the ability to hide in the walls of the maze. The scope of the underground maze is a square kilometer of space, but the maze exists in another space range, not really underground. There are more than 300 guards in the maze, including 260 human immortals and 40 ghost immortals, which is the current limit of the underground maze. The next moment, the maze guards lost their obstruction. Countless mutant corpses swarmed in and rushed into the underground maze frantically. There were hundreds of them, and they kept diverting in the maze and quickly spread to every corner of the maze. The maze was filled with the smell of flesh and blood, which made them crazy. In the center of the maze, Lin Yi and others quietly looked at the picture on the maze model. Countless black dots appeared in the channel of the model, densely packed, and at least thousands of them were seen at a glance. Most of the maze has been filled with these mutant corpses. The maze guards were distributed in the walls, waiting for orders from Brandy. Lin Yi looked at Brandy, you decide when to launch the attack. Brandy nodded, silently calculating the number of these mutant corpses in his heart. When 2/3 of the entire maze was filled with these mutant corpses, he gave the order. Begin the attack. The next moment, a massacre took place. At this time, the maze was already filled with at least 2,000 mutant corpses. Countless dark green silk threads instantly spread out from every corner of the maze. In an instant, all the more than 2,000 mutant corpses were tied up. They struggled frantically, but then more than 300 figures walked out from the walls of the maze. These figures immediately launched an extinction attack on them. With a strange power, they were all torn into pieces. These mutant corpses themselves are made of matter evolved from strange power. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 774. As strange beings, they are powerful and ignore everything. Even if they are broken into pieces, they can grow again. Even if they are burned to ashes, the strange substances in their bodies will not disappear. They will erode the earth and all buildings and become another form of existence. In Blue Star, they can run rampant and no force can stop them. But in this Xuanhuan, they are lambs to be slaughtered. More than 300 maze guards killed more than 2,000 mutant corpses that were only at the peak of the mortal way. It was really not too easy. They can shuttle freely in the maze, and each can deal with about 7 mutant corpses on average. Everything happened in just a short time, and these more than 2,000 mutant corpses have all disappeared in the maze. From introduction to killing, only 5 or 6 minutes have passed. Feeling this efficiency, Lin Yi nodded slightly, this efficiency is not bad, keep working hard. As he said, he glanced at Sakuramiya surely, let's go, it's our turn next. A distortion enveloped him and Sakuramiya surely, and the two appeared at the gate of the maze in an instant. Then a fine sword energy burst out from Lin Yi's hand. The mutant corpses that were about to rush in were all killed in an instant, and the gate of the Wanchaiwu was directly cleared 100 meters. The ground was full of fragments of mutant corpses, and these fragments were still ready to move. Lin Yi did not spend too much effort to neutralize these fragments. Fighting in this world would waste a huge amount of power, and he had no time to waste. The two walked out of the arbitrary door, and in an instant, a majestic thought in Lin Yi's mind had swept across the entire Wanjin city. This time he dispatched the body of a human immortal, and the power of true destiny instantly enveloped him. The next moment, he had pulled up Sakuramiya surely. There are 13 targets in Wanjin city. They are the leaders of all the mutant corpses. The breadth of one of them has reached the peak of the Ghost Fairy Way. Their body size is basically over 6 meters. It is basically impossible to enter the arbitrary door. With them, it will affect our cleaning of those ordinary mutant corpses. Let's work together later and clean them all up with the fastest efficiency. You have also reached the 3rd level of earthly immortals, right? Almost, just a little bit, Sakuramiya surely said calmly. Okay. In just a dozen breaths, they came to the first target. This is a strange existence that looks like a flesh body. Its body is covered with heads, hands, and feet, and its body is like a centipede, coiled together. The length has reached 10 meters, and the whole body is filled with evil breath. The moment he saw Lin Yi and Sakuramiya surely, he did not attack, but turned and ran. Obviously, it has sensed the terror of the two, but Lin Yi and the others will not let him go. Sakuramiya swilly took the lead, and a gorgeous sea of flowers appeared out of thin air, and countless petals enveloped the strange corpse in an instant. The next moment, the sea of flowers spun like a storm, and the strange corpse like a long snake was directly torn into pieces. At the same time, countless flowers spontaneously ignited without wind, turning into a gorgeous sea of fire. Countless fragments of the mutant corpse were burned to ashes in the sea of fire. And these ashes are still disappearing in the sea of fire. These ashes are being neutralized by the power of the flames and completely wiped out from this world. In just 1 minute, this strange existence was completely destroyed. Lin Yi has been watching Sakuramiya swilly. The previous attack directly dissipated the opponent's 3 layers of power. Almost 90% of the power was absorbed by this world. Sakuramiya swilly frowned slightly, and a piece of pure spiritual jade appeared in her hand. This is specially made by Lin Yi, which can absorb a lot of energy. 1 piece is enough for her to restore all her strength. It consumes a lot after each attack. You need at least 3 minutes to recover. And your energy will continue to be consumed in this process. This world suppresses extraordinary power too much. Lin Yi's face showed a trace of solemnity. Let's go to the second target. Book Friends benefits: you can get cash or points by reading books, and iPhone 12 and Switch are waiting for you to draw. Follow the VX public account Book Friends Base Camp to get it. Lin Yi exerted the power of true destiny, and nothing in the city could stop him. One after another, powerful mutant corpses in the city were eliminated, and Lin Yi and Sakuramiya surely took turns to attack. Every burst of energy fluctuations was earth-shaking, which shocked Wang Jinai, who had been observing the changes in Wanjin city. At this time, he had picked up the satellite phone and was contacting Simon Wushan. Simon, is this the mysterious Mr. Lin you invited? It's really terrifying. Do you know? Those powerful mutant corpses in the city are being cleared one by one. There is no power to fight back, and the power they release. It's just like the power in mythology. Even if I use all my strength, I can't burst out 1/10 of that power. No mutant corpse can withstand their attack. Who are Mr. Lin and his companions? At this time, Wang Jinai sensed all this through the magnetic field and saw this scene, which completely overturned his imagination. He couldn't understand why there was such a thing in this world. At this time, in the depths of the sea, the giant tree soul Ayala showed a trace of solemnity in his eyes. His eyes seemed to have crossed a distance of tens of millions of miles and saw the scene in Wanjin city. What a powerful force, this is the immortal system? Has the weird power invaded this world? Then I must leave here. Otherwise, this world will be destroyed sooner or later, and I will die here. A strong worry rose in his heart. No one knew the horror of weirdness better than him. That was a phenomenon that destroyed one huge world after another, powerful and incredible. As far as he knew, countless forces within the range had almost never won against the invasion of weirdness. Even if they had accumulated countless experiences, they only resisted the invasion of weirdness in the end. He even knew that some forces had formulated strict rules to prevent being noticed by weirdness and to protect each world. Ayala, the soul of the giant tree, knows very well how terrifying the weirdness is. In the boundless world, huge alliances have been formed one after another. In order to fight against the weirdness, all those who know the existence of the weirdness are not allowed to stay in the world. Because once you know the weirdness, you will be watched by the weirdness, and then the weirdness will come to the world where that person is with this knowledge. Eventually bring destruction to the world. Knowing the weirdness itself is a taboo, and Ayala, the soul of the giant tree, also learned about this matter accidentally. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 775. But he had no other choice. His original world was already facing the emergence of weirdness. It was just that he knew the danger of weirdness, so whenever there was weirdness, he would immediately do his best to extinguish the budding of weirdness. He would not give them any chance to develop, and only then could he barely maintain the safety of the world. But he could also feel that the weirdness was appearing more and more frequently, and he was already a little powerless. And at that time, a weird change that affected the whole world occurred. And he also came to this blue planet during that change and was in his current state. This store manager Lin is really powerful, at the level of the heavenly immortal Dao of the immortal Dao system. It seems that he has a considerable understanding of weirdness. Is he from the Void Immortal Kingdom? That is one of the most powerful alliances in the Void. All kinds of thoughts flashed through Ayala's mind, and finally fell silent. There are still 6 days left, I hope I can spend them safely. This time, after leaving this world, I have to find a way to join a certain void force. Otherwise, facing the weirdness, no matter how I struggle, I will eventually perish. Not to mention the confusion of Ayala's thoughts, at this time, Lin Yi and Sakuramiya surely were harvesting the powerful mutant corpses in Wanjin City just like harvesting wheat. In just half an hour, they had dealt with more than a dozen powerful mutant corpses of the Ghost Fairy level in Wanjin City. One of them even allowed the possibility of breakthrough. But unfortunately, it had no chance to face Lin Yi and Sakuramiya surely. In the end, no one escaped the lock of Lin Yi and the others. After dealing with all the powerful mutant corpses, Lin Yi and Sakuramiya surely had returned to the gate of the maze. At this time, both of them were shrouded in the glory of the true destiny. Walking among countless mutant corpses, although these mutant corpses attacked them crazily. But any attack of these mutant corpses could not touch them at all. It was as if they were in another world. Very easily, the two returned to the maze. Standing in the center of the maze, the two began to quickly recover their consumed strength. In the center of the maze, the spirit jade was absorbing a large amount of spiritual energy from the world connected to the wish shrine. Lin Yi and Sakuramiya surely also quickly absorbed the energy in the spirit jade at the same time, and within a few minutes, they recovered to their peak state. At this time, Brandy and others were killing the mutant corpses together with the maze guards. Each of them was exerting their own body power, and the attacks transformed by spiritual energy killed the mutant corpses one by one. Whiskey and vodka, the two people were like two steel beasts, punching a mutant corpse. smashed their heads one by one, all fell to the ground and could not move, and then were pulled into the maze by countless silk threads to digest. Brandy and Lao Wei each held a sharp sword, and after injecting essence, a sharp sword light burst out. Cut the mutant corpses one by one. Li Hualian also changed slightly at this time. A strange power seemed to appear in his body. The spiritual energy seemed to be absorbed into his body and stored in every cell of his body. At this time, a huge magnetic field was constantly moving in his body, and the magnetic field of each cell bound a large amount of spiritual energy. And these spiritual energies would be injected into Li Hualian's sword under the control of the magnetic field, turning into fierce sword energy one after another. Lin Yi saw the scene with some surprise in his eyes. The reason why he valued the power system of this world was that the power system of this world could be used in any world. If in the extraordinary world, these Dao marks connected the spiritual power, they could mobilize the spiritual energy of the outside world, directly transform it into their own power, combine the magnetic field, form a field or even a world. To exert incredible combat power, and this is what Li Hualian is like now. He has completed an independent mission. In that extraordinary world, he obviously has noticed the existence of spiritual energy and transformed this energy into a form that he can use. It is stored in his body and changes his physique. In Lin Yi's eyes, every cell of Li Hualian has an independent magnetic field, spiritual power, and energy trajectory. Each of his cells has an independent energy circulation system, which allows him to store energy at a density that even exceeds that of the immortal system. And this circulation system also caused his cells to undergo a qualitative change. After the cells were integrated with spiritual energy, they became stronger. At this time, his body was infinitely close to the existence of the earthly immortal. If Li Hualian came into contact with any method of cultivating the Tao, he could complete all the transformations in the shortest time. Directly step into the realm of the earthly immortal and enter the range of immortality. In simple terms, the system of this world has a very high realm, but its power is very weak. If we use the words of Lin Yi in his previous life, it means that if you cultivate your nature but not your life, you will end up with nothing. But the reason why this happened in this world is because this world has no spiritual energy. You can't cultivate your life, you can only cultivate your nature. But now Li Hualian has come into contact with spiritual energy and quickly transformed his realm into power. And he started using these spiritual energies without any instruction. Seeing this, Lin Yi showed a hint of satisfaction in his eyes. The martial arts masters in this world will be the best bounty hunters in his hands. It seems that I have to speed up and find the right person in this world. At this time, he slightly checked the strange power reserves in the Wanchai. In just half an hour, at least more than 20,000 mutant corpses have died in the Wanchai. A large amount of strange power has brought the strange power of the Wanchai back to 1/5 of the peak level. It seems that this time, I will get enough strange power to allow the Wanchai to leave this world at any time. This is a brand new guarantee. There was a hint of joy in his eyes, which meant that he would have more choices. At this time, bitter love wine and Lafite red wine were the most unlucky of all. One of them is a vengeful spirit, and the other is a small and weak strange existence. Facing these mutant corpses, they all felt a little helpless and could only watch Brandy and others earn contribution points. Anger, helplessness, and anxiety filled their hearts. At this time, the two guys were already controlling their clones and attacking together with their real bodies. Originally, Lin Yi planned to give each person 500 contribution points and let them carry out the task tonight. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 776. The latest chapter of the Wanchai I Created is updated the fastest. However, considering the principles of enthusiasm and fairness. He changed the method of obtaining contribution points. The final contribution points will be determined by the number of mutants eliminated by each of them. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. An ordinary mutant corpse is 0.5 contribution points and only 1 contribution point is obtained after killing 20 heads. For a mutant corpse reaching level 2, 1 contribution point is 1. The reason why the contribution points are so low is that the power of Brandy and others is far beyond this world. At the same time, all their spiritual jades are provided by Lin Yi for free. And this change makes Absinthe and Lafite red wine feel very helpless. One of them is good at mental attacks, and the other has no combat power at all. It is not easy to obtain contribution points. So far, the two of them have only killed less than 100 mutant corpses together. And this result also makes them very helpless, but there is nothing they can do. Lin Yi would never break the principle of fairness for them. The battle continued, and this night was filled with death and killing. 7 hours passed quickly, and it was already 7 o'clock in a blink of an eye. The arbitrary door in Wanjin City slowly closed, and finally disappeared in the siege of countless mutant corpses. Inside the maze, as the last batch of mutant corpses were completely wiped out, it became empty. At this time, in the maze passage, Brandy and others were so tired that they sat on the ground. After fighting for 8 hours in a row, they also felt great pressure. This was mental pressure, facing the ubiquitous attacks of mutant corpses. Each of them remained careful enough, tense, and greatly tempered their will. Especially Brandy and Lao Wei, they experienced such a cruel battle for the first time. With their strength as human immortals, these mutant corpses were almost no match for them. Only those second-level mutant corpses would bring them danger. But the long battle also put them in a dangerous state several times. The battlefield is changing rapidly, and no one can guarantee that they will not die in the battlefield. A series of distortions enveloped them, and the next moment, they were all back to the center of the maze. Lin Yi looked at the returning people, smiled and said, "Today's battle is over. About 1/6 of the mutant corpses in Wanjin City have been eliminated. In the next 6 days, we will continue to kill these mutant corpses until they are completely cleaned up. Everyone should have a good rest during the day today. The store will not be open for the time being. Everyone should conserve their energy and digest their gains last night. Of course, you can also use your contribution points to exchange for what you want here. I hope you can become stronger and stronger. So come on, my hunters. This is the first time that the Wanchaiwu has carried out a large-scale bounty mission. Everyone participated in it, and everyone gained a lot." In a guest room on the second floor of the Wanchaiwu, Sakuramiya Shirley looked at her grandfather Sakuramiya Jixia. "Grandpa, are you interested in becoming a bounty hunter in the Yoroswia? Now that you have entered the human immortal path, you can form a team with the head maid. By constantly completing tasks to gain life and strength, we can rebuild our family in other worlds in the future. Our Sakuramiya family will become stronger in the future and become a world-beating existence." Sakuramiya Shirley said with a serious face. Sakuramiya Jixia's face has now returned to his 40-year-old appearance. The whole body is filled with the spirit of the human immortal path, and the whole person's state has completely changed. And next to him, the head maid who served him all his life seemed to have restored her young face at this time. She was a very beautiful person, with tenderness in her eyes, always looking at Sakuramiya Jixia. Sakuramiya Jixia looked at her granddaughter and thought of everything she had experienced. Nodding slowly, "Don't worry, I won't give up. I will revive the entire family myself." Sakuramiya Jixia's eyes flashed with a trace of determination at this time. Blood King Indra, he sat in a guest room on the second floor, with a trace of thought in his eyes. Last night he felt a terrifying and strange aura rolling in the whole Wanchaiwu. He noticed the battle in the huge maze below the Wanchaiwu. He even saw various strange beings emerging from the Wanchaiwu at 12 o'clock in the evening. Indistinctly, he had grasped what kind of state the Wanchaiwu was in. This store manager Lin is really bold. He actually turned this place into a strange world. So many strange beings will be attracted to come every night. Kill these strange beings and absorb their power. Isn't he afraid of the erosion of the strange? It's really strange. And the strangest thing is that no one here has been eroded by the strange. Does this store manager Lin have any special power to protect them from being eroded? Countless worlds, countless civilizations, no civilization has ever done this. This manager Lin is a little unexpected. Maybe I need to build a better relationship with this person. Weirdness, that is a sword hanging over everyone's head. Build a good relationship with this manager Lin, maybe I can use his power to resist the erosion of weirdness. At some point in the future, keep my retreat. At this time in Lao Wei's room, he looked at his son. His son was practicing the martial arts of this world summarized by Lin Yi. Lao Wei saw the strength of Li Hualian in this battle, so he hoped that his son could also take this path. The cultivation system of the immortal way is not easy and requires a lot of resources. And the martial arts system of this world, most of the resources required are sufficient nutrition. He can get this kind of resource at will. So he plans to let his son practice to the peak through the martial arts system of this world. At the same time, with the help of the energy of Lingyu, practice the cultivation method of the cultivation way. The combination of the two can achieve twice the result with half the effort, save resources to the maximum extent, and reach the peak of martial arts. As a father, he is also worried about his son's future. Although the missions of the Yoroswaya have been easy so far, what if I die in a mission? As long as my son has strength, he can become a bounty hunter like me and survive well in the Yoroswaya. This is the most fundamental way to solve my worries. You have to work hard. This is an opportunity that countless people can't get, but you have it now. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 777. At this time, Absinthe and Lafite were sitting together. Both of them were filled with anger, resentment, and unwillingness. Lafite said sinisterly, "This won't work. If those guys earn more and more contribution points, they will become stronger and stronger. In the future, our status in the store will become lower and lower. Maybe we will be eliminated someday. The store manager has no friendship with us. In his eyes, we are just his free slaves. Now we finally see some opportunities, we must not let them go. We must seize the opportunity and continue to improve our strength." Absinthe, he said gloomily, "You don't have to tell me that. I'm also very worried now, but there's nothing I can do. Those people have all kinds of connections with the boss. Even vodka is more appreciated by the store manager than us. That guy is very obedient and never refutes any order from the store manager. He is also conscientious in doing things. In comparison, the two of us are far behind. If we continue like this, the distance between us and them will get bigger and bigger. We must think of a way, the two of us must unite." How to unite? I am now a great vengeful spirit, strong enough to rival the first-level ghost fairy, but my attacks are mainly on the spiritual level. In this battle, it is not very useful, and I can only rely on the clone. Unless I can reach the realm of the vengeful spirit king, the peak of the ghost fairy, I can truly transform from an illusory state into a real entity. Then I can exert powerful physical attack capabilities in this world. But if I want to reach this level, I need to devour a large number of soul crystals. I know that the store manager has a batch of new soul crystals. I want to exchange from him, switch over. But I only have 50 contribution points. How about it? Lend me your 50 points. When I become the king of wraiths, I will come to help you. So that you can also go one step further. Lafite Redwine smiled disdainfully, "He, if I lend it to you, I'm afraid it's like throwing meat buns at a dog and never coming back. Unless we go to the store manager to sign a contract. Otherwise I won't believe your empty words. Absinthe smiled and said, hee hee, of course there is no problem. Lafite Redwine looked at Absinthe in surprise. He didn't expect this guy to agree. But after thinking about it, he understood that Absinthe was obviously a little anxious. Lafite Redwine nodded, okay, since you agree to sign the contract, then I'll go to the store manager. In Vodka's room, he looked at his left hand, which had turned pure black. His eyes were a little intoxicated, and he could feel that his left hand contained a powerful force. A feeling of deep tranquility. This was the abyss transformation of the body that he exchanged from Lin Yi with his contribution points. All his contribution points tonight could only complete one left palm. But the power generated by this left palm alone had allowed him to break through the limit of the human immortal path and step into the higher level of ghost immortal path combat power. He saw the dawn of becoming more powerful. Thinking of his past, a trace of cold light appeared in his eyes. One day I will go back, and I will repay my anger and hatred one by one. In Brandy's room, he was holding the subsequent practice of King Mugong at the level of Ghost Immortal Path. The original name of this practice was not King Mugong, but Kingdi Chang Sheng Jeng. This is a practice of an ancient sect, which has long disappeared in the sect war in the Red Lotus realm. The biggest effect of this practice is that the lifespan of each realm will be twice as long as that of people with other practices, and the nourishment for the body and soul is beyond imagination. But because of this reason, the combat effectiveness of people who practice this practice is not strong. Of course, this is only relative. In the historical records of the entire Red Lotus realm, the Green Emperor's Longevity Sutra can also be ranked as a mid-level combat power. This technique is mainly good at prolonging life, long breath, and sustained combat. For Brandy, who cherishes life very much, it is a very suitable technique. At this time, he finally exchanged the part of the Ghost Immortal Way from Lin Yi. This set of techniques is also one of the materials that Lin Yi exchanged from the sect of the Red Lotus realm. Without any hesitation, Brandy has begun to read the book carefully, absorb the knowledge in it, and prepare to break through the Ghost Immortal Way. Whiskey sat alone in the backyard. He was the only weird thing in Lin Yi's summoning album that had regained wisdom and consciousness. Whether it was the weird child, the bad doctor, or the two-headed dog, they were still muddle-headed and acted purely on instinct and command. At this time in the backyard, the bad doctor, the two-headed dog, and the weird child all stood quietly beside Whiskey. Lin Yi had handed the three of them over to Whiskey for management. Some soul crystals appeared in Whiskey's hands, about 10 pieces. He looked at these soul crystals and gave the two-headed dog one of each of the three strange objects. In the past, it was because of the use of soul crystals that it awakened its wisdom. He hopes that his companions like him can awaken their wisdom and become a strange existence again. He is not a real life form, he is still a strange existence, but he has real wisdom. He didn't understand the rationale, but he felt it had something to do with Lin Yi and the strange summoning album. Taking a deep breath, watching the three of them swallow the soul crystals, he also swallowed the remaining 7 soul crystals in one gulp. The majestic and strange power filled his body and quickly digested the 7 soul crystals. These soul crystals were all obtained by Lin Yi from the giant tree Soul Ayala. Now, it has become one of the resources for the growth of bounty hunters in the Everything House. After swallowing these soul crystals, the smell of whiskey grew a lot, and it became more powerful. Step by step, he is approaching the Earth Immortal level combat power, and the muscles on his body become stronger. Jin's room, as the weakest person in Wanchaiwu. He just cultivated this world's martial arts system to the peak of the first level. Now he was holding a pill and a scripture in his hands, which were specially rewarded by Lin Yi. In this battle, although he did not have any strong results, but he showed the courage to not be afraid of danger. A warrior in the first stage of martial arts, facing these dangerous mutated corpses, his combat effectiveness is actually very weak. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 778. If he is not careful, he may be torn into pieces, but Jin is not afraid to retreat. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. He tried his best to ensure his own safety and killed 10 mutant corpses in one night, showing his value. Therefore, Lin Yi gave him a special reward, after all, as a formal employee of Wan Wu. Others easily entered the level of human immortal with the help of Lin Yi. Jin also needs the same help to obtain the most basic combat power. The skill that Lin Yi gave him is a skill that can be practiced all the way to the level of heavenly immortal. The name of the skill is Immortal Body, which is one of the skills exchanged from the Blood King Indra. It is the skill of a disappeared sect in the world he destroyed. The skills in this world focus on cultivating the flesh, not the meridians, and all the absorbed energy is dispersed into the body to condense the supreme chi and blood. Finally, the spirituality and blood will be perfectly integrated, and the whole body will become a fusion of blood and spirituality. Then go through the 5 great tribulations and achieve an immortal body. Integrate the adaptability of the spirituality into the body, and then let the body go through the Yuankai tribulation, the tribulation of all things, the tribulation of the void, the tribulation of the universe and the tribulation of the true spirit like the spirituality. From the practice of that world, Lin Yi saw that it was another immortal world. The path taken is different from the immortal system of the Red Lotus realm, but there are also similarities. Of course, no one in this world finally took the last step, and it was destroyed by the Blood King Indra. However, the intention of this practice is very high. Once it is cultivated, it can indeed go to eternity. It takes a long life and unswerving will to complete this practice. The progress of the Ghost Immortal Road was very fast before. Once it exceeds the Ghost Immortal Road, the speed will slow down rapidly. However, this practice is very suitable for Jin. First of all, he is one of the bounty hunters of the Eurozwia. He can continue to practice by completing tasks and exchanging life from Lin Yi, and then he can continue to practice. Secondly, Jin is a person who is very afraid of death, and people in the world of Blue Star cannot practice the immortal way of the Red Lotus realm because there are many different structures in the body. Although they all look the same as humans on the surface, there are many differences in the energy system in the body. So Lin Yi specially selected this method for him, and the immortal way of another world does not have such restrictions. And it will not affect his practice of the martial arts system of this world. The two will also affect each other and continue to overlap. Lin Yi is very interested in what effect will be produced by combining the martial arts system of this world with the method of qi and blood cultivation. Jin has finished reading the contents of the scripture, and then he swallowed the pill in his hand. This pill is a special pill, which is made by Lin Yi imitating a pill in the method of qi and blood cultivation. This pill must have a huge amount of qi and blood. After swallowing, it will nourish the body little by little in the body and help practice the method of qi and blood. In the world of qi and blood, it is called the blood pill for foundation building, which is specially used for people without foundation to build foundation. After swallowing the blood pill, a warm breath permeated his body. Jin, who belonged to the first level of martial arts, immediately began to practice according to the content of the scriptures. He played a set of 365 kinds of boxing techniques, well, integrating the power of the blood pill into every cell of his body. Every moment, he felt that his strength was constantly improving, as if he had accumulated a lot of strength. All the power in the blood pill was quickly integrated into the cells, making the whole body full of qi and blood. At this moment, his body was shrouded in a layer of faint blood-colored brilliance, and his spirit changed under the nourishment of this huge qi and blood. Like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon, he felt that his spirit was under his control like a substance. Flowing in his body, Grasping the state of every corner of his body, he saw the inside of his body. This is the second level of martial arts. The spirit is truly formed and reflected on itself. He took a deep breath, a trace of joy appeared on his face, he knew that he had officially entered a new realm. His combat power was at least more than twice as strong as before. At this time, in the Wanchaiwu, everyone was digesting the contribution points they had received last night and converting them into strength. Lin Yi was sitting in the lobby, his eyes looking at a box in his hand. There were more than 50,000 talents in it, each of which was considered a talent in a certain aspect. As soon as his mind moved, more than 50,000 talents began to merge quickly. Talents with similarities merged into one, and the talent after fusion became more perfect, and the faint light emitted became more intense. In the end, there were only 365 talents left out of more than 50,000, each of which emitted a dazzling light. Looking at the 365 talents, Lin Yi's heart suddenly moved. 365. This is a wonderful number. It just corresponds to the 365 bloodline talents I got in the Red Lotus realm. At this time, he observed these 365 talents and could easily perceive the changes in them. These talents reflect all aspects of a person's spirit, and have a uniquely strong ability to adapt and learn both intangible and tangible aspects. For example, writing and painting seem to be some kind of human art. But in fact, reflected in talent, it actually involves the ability to coordinate the body, the ability to analyze and understand colors and shapes, and a comprehensive manifestation of the ability to observe the world. This is an innate ability that cannot be learned later. And the root of these talents is actually something. As long as you have this talent, you can have great achievements in calligraphy and painting. For example, mathematicians, their understanding and sensitivity of numbers are beyond ordinary people. This is a difference in thinking mode, a talent beyond ordinary people, such as inexplicable inspiration, which is also impossible for ordinary people to learn. And all kinds of scientists, their roots are actually the same and similar talents, a talent for calculation and observation. All these, in the final analysis, are among these 365 talents. At this time, Lin Yi had an idea in his mind. So, should I trade these 365 talents or use them myself? If I use them myself, I will become an omnipotent person. I will be able to learn any knowledge at once, and I can bring forth new ideas without any bottlenecks. As long as my body supports me, I can keep thinking and use these talents to their limits. But all my energy will be involved. It will take too much time to rely on these talents to push all human arts, knowledge, philosophy, etc. to the top. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 779. The latest chapter of the Wanchaiwu I Created is updated the fastest. But if I trade these talents, 365 unimaginable geniuses will be created. They will create brilliance in their respective fields, and eventually condense their own Dao marks, and then I can transform these Dao marks into my own things. While getting these results, I can also enjoy my life, which is what I want. Lin Yi was thinking about whether to use these talents himself or exchange them. After thinking for a while, he decided to exchange them all first. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. He can get talents in the future, and he can use them himself at that time. After all, these things are renewable resources for him and are not scarce. Thinking of this, he gently closed the jade box in his hand. At this time, his eyes fell on the stairs. There, the Blood King Indra walked down slowly. There was no trace of skin on his body, only countless muscles could be seen, and his whole body was filled with an extremely evil aura. Just seeing it would make people feel terrified. At this time, in the lobby, the clones of Brandy and others were cleaning the Wanchai. The next day was their time to work. Indra walked over slowly and sat opposite Lin Yi. "Mr. Lin, some interesting changes seem to have happened here yesterday. I felt a lot of weird power. The weird power here is getting stronger and stronger. Aren't you afraid of attracting a stronger weird invasion? This weird space is very dangerous." A strange expression appeared on the face of the Blood King Indra. Lin Yi smiled and said, "I was afraid they wouldn't come. I need a lot of strange power to take this space with me and leave this world. And it will take a lot of strange power to send you away. The strange power I collected last night is almost enough to send you away. Do you want to leave now?" When the Blood King Indra heard Lin Yi's words, a hint of joy appeared in his eyes. But he thought for a while and said, "Actually, I'm a little curious. What is your purpose in opening this store? From your appearance, you are practicing the way of immortality. This is one of the few recognized methods in the void that can reach the top of eternity. What you are doing now doesn't seem to have much meaning." Lin Yi looked at him, smiled and said, "I am a businessman, I like doing business and making money. With money and wealth, I can do everything I want. Doesn't cultivation also require various resources? And the stones from other mountains can be used to polish jade. The power system of other worlds will also play an important role in my cultivation." Indra came here, although it was only one day, but he had learned about the operation of the Wanchai from Brandy and others. Knowing that Lin Yi has the power to connect one unknown time and space after another, and can also act in those unknown time and space by signing contracts, without being suppressed by the world. Although he didn't know how Lin Yi did it specifically, he guessed that all this was probably related to the weird power. And what he was most interested in was that no one in the entire Wanchai was eroded by unknown forces. He had come into contact with strange power countless years ago. He knew clearly the horror of strange power. Any life that has been in the range of strange power for a long time, or anyone who has been in contact with strange objects for a long time, will face erosion, which is almost an unstoppable force. Among the various powerful beings he had seen, almost no one could resist it. Even if it was a being at the level of the heavenly immortal Deo, as long as he did not step into the legendary True Spirit Tribulation and become a supreme being who had survived the 5 tribulations, it would be impossible to avoid being eroded. But now he saw a person who could resist erosion, and could also prevent everyone around him from being eroded. This was simply a myth, which surprised him more than anything he had seen. "I wonder if I can register with you and become a bounty hunter in the Wanchai." When Lin Yi heard this, he looked at Indra unexpectedly. "Are you interested in this?" The Blood King Indra had a strange smile on his face, and his face without skin looked very scary. "Because your Wanchai is really interesting. And I see some possibilities in you. So I want to establish an alliance with you. I really want to see if you can finally reach the realm that no one else can reach. Get red envelope cash or points. Red envelope has been sent to your account. Follow the WeChat public account Book Friends Base Camp to receive it." "So that's how it is," Lin Yi smiled. The Blood King Indra in front of him is a true master of the Tianxiandao level. From him, he felt the traces of the immortal way, and this person also walked the eternal road. The other party's purpose is definitely not as simple as he thought, but because of the Tianxiandao level bounty hunter, Lin Yi can gain a lot. He naturally had no reason to refuse, and he was confident that he could control all situations. After all, he still had his true life as a backup, which gave him the confidence to face everything. "No problem, sign this contract and you can become a bounty hunter of the Wanchai. And you can live in the Wanchai. Here, you will not be affected by the devouring power of this world. So do you want to leave this world next?" Blood King Indra glanced at the note in his hand and smiled faintly. Then he wrote his name directly. "Although I have become your bounty hunter, I will still leave here. You will only come here when you are free. Lin Yi smiled when he heard this. That's fine, after all, there are still very few tasks that require the level of Tiangxiandao. I will notify you when there is a task, and you can decide whether to accept it. This is your contribution point nameplate. As he said, Kailan threw out a nameplate and placed it in front of Indra. Indra picked up the nameplate and looked at it. Ordinary magic weapon. Then it's a pleasure to work with you. Since I have enough power, I want to leave here today. Is there any problem? Lin Yi glanced at him. It's not a big problem. Tonight. Okay. After saying that, Indra turned and left the lobby, with a strange smile on his face, looking at Brandy and others. Lin Yi looked at Indra's disappearing back, his face still calm, and I don't know what he was thinking. At this time, the senior officials of various countries on Blue Star were looking at the satellite pictures. They saw the changes that happened in Wanjin City last night. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 780. Satellite shows that a large number of mutant corpses disappeared out of thin air. The news they got from Country H was that a mysterious person promised to eliminate these mutant corpses after Country H paid some price. Last night was the first stage. At this time, the senior officials of various countries were listening to the reports of their intelligence personnel. Last night, about 150,000 mutant corpses disappeared in Wanjin City, completely disappeared from this world. It seems that some kind of space technology swallowed these mutant corpses out of thin air. That door is like a wormhole, and there are two figures in the city that killed all the powerful mutant corpses. Their strength is also beyond imagination. The power contained in the body can be compared with the giant tree that fell in the deep sea, although judging from the magnetic field, it is only 1/10 of the size of the giant tree. But that has exceeded the limit of human beings. After the two mysterious figures appeared, all the powerful mutant corpses in Wanjin City were eliminated. Including the super mutant corpses bred in the center of the city, they were also killed. At this time, the senior officials of various countries in the world were listening to the same report. The crisis of Wanjin City is being eliminated bit by bit. In Tianqianghai, several high-level officials of Country H sat in a conference room. A middle-aged secretary was looking at the report in his hand and said, "The mysterious blood shadow that appeared in the northern region has disappeared. At the same time, the bloody cases that occurred in succession have also ended. According to Mr. Ximan Wuxian's report, it should be this mysterious Mr. Lin who took action. The mysterious blood shadow should have been eliminated. The mysterious giant tree in the ocean has been in a quiet state, and there has been no fluctuation since it fell. According to Mr. Ximan Wuxian's report, the giant tree will disappear in 7 days. Now a day has passed. At the same time, the changes in Wanjin City are also the work of Mr. Lin. This Mr. Lin from Wanchaiwu has been listed as the existence of the highest risk level. In the entire Jingguan City, Wanchaiwu's housing resources are within kilometers. We have a large number of personnel to prevent any inappropriate people from offending the Wanchaiwu. According to the research of many of our psychologists and scientists, this mysterious Mr. Lin tends to be a neutralist. He is a thorough businessman, and this is a place we can take advantage of. According to the compensation in the transaction conditions he proposed. We have formulated quite a number of plans, and we can exchange a lot of knowledge and benefits from him. The above are the 387 plans we have prepared. If they can be completed, it will greatly improve the martial arts level of Country H and even the national strength. The senior officials in Tianqianghai looked at the report in their hands, and their eyes were shocked. They knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have a direct interest relationship with the unknown existence of different time and space. The benefits contained in it will exceed imagination, although they are paying for things they cannot understand. The senior officials of Country H looked at the report quietly, and every plan in it made them feel frightened. A huge network is rushing towards Linyi. In Jingguan City, in the courtyard of Yamingliu, Shen Wuifang was playing chess with someone at this time. That person was the second person to come out of the divine mountain of heaven and earth. He was also one of his elders. Follow the official account, book Friends Base Camp, and get cash and coins for following. At this time, Yamingliu stood aside, quietly watching the two people playing chess. Both of their chess pieces contained a trace of wonderful magnetic field. As the chess pieces continued to fall on the chessboard, the mutual influence of these magnetic fields turned into a magnetic field hedging in his eyes. He seemed to see two top masters fighting, evolving their own principles, colliding in the form of magnetic fields. There was a shocking light in his eyes, and he saw a higher martial arts, the incomparably magnificent spiritual world. Snap! Accompanied by a crisp sound of chess pieces, the magnetic field formed by the black chess represented by Shen Wuifang was instantly swallowed up by the magnetic field of the white chess. There was only one magnetic field left on the chessboard, and the magnetic field collapsed rapidly, and finally turned into a red illusory light. In this light, there seemed to be a world ravaged by magma, full of destruction and death. The next moment, the light shattered, turned into dots of light, and dissipated around. Shen Wuifang showed a faint smile on his face. Ha ha ha, Senior Qinjun is really powerful, with Supreme Dao heart, evolving the world, and returning to the realm of emptiness. Sure enough, it is not comparable to the realm of refining spirit. The person called Senior Qinjun is a middle-aged man who looks to be in his 30s. There is a wonderful magnetic field all over his body, which seems to be perfectly integrated with the world around him. In Yamingliu's eyes, the magnetic field of the whole world is connected to him. The magnetic field within a radius of 1 kilometer seems to be under his control, and he is the core of the magnetic field. This realm is much more advanced than their method of controlling the magnetic field. When they, the level of gods, control the magnetic field, they use the mind to integrate the spirit and life magnetic field, and then continuously absorb the dead energy to form an energy cycle in the magnetic field. Then form a larger magnetic field, absorb more dead energy, and expand the magnetic field under their control bit by bit. It takes quite a long time to complete this process. But the person in front of him did all this just like eating and drinking. The huge mind merged into the magnetic field and opened directly. It can merge with the original magnetic field of the world, affect the magnetic field with the magnetic field, and merge the magnetic field with the magnetic field. This is a brand new realm, at least Yamingliu has not reached this realm yet. He felt a huge pressure, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. Is this the power behind Shen Wuifang? It's really terrifying. But compared with that Mr. Lin, it seems to be a little worse. His origin seems to be more mysterious and unpredictable. Just as Yamingliu was thinking, Shen Wuifang looked at Senior Qinjun in front of him. Senior Qinjun, you came out this time, is there something wrong? Senior Qinjun glanced at Yamingliu next to Shen Wuifang and said calmly. The ruins have fluctuated, Lord Zhou Tianjun, I suspect that the thing sealed in the ruins may appear. Hearing this, Shen Wuifang's face condensed slightly. He naturally knew what was buried under the ruins. That is an existence that has fought with the previous generation of humans for countless years, one of the sources of the celestial beings. An existence that is 10 or 100 times more terrifying than the current celestial beings. So, those things are about to appear. Senior Qinjun nodded and said, indeed, so we must now master the power in the mortal world.